This is CBC Here and Now.
Hospital overcrowding. A healthcare leader says it can't be ignored.
You have poorer patient outcomes. There's room for error.
Coming up on Here and Now.
Regionalization, a contentious topic for decades, now officially back on the table.
They'll be able to hold on to their identities. They won't have to worry about changing their town name.
That's just ahead.
A cold front moves through over the next couple of days. Looks like it's going to bring the potential for some freezing rain and snow to parts of the province.
Welcome to Here and Now. I'm Carolyn Stokes. We begin with a COVID-19 update. Since yesterday, 4 more people have died because of the virus. All 4 deaths were reported in the eastern region of the province. A man and a woman in their 70s, as well as a man and woman over the age of 80. That brings the province's total number of deaths to 44. We have 248 new cases of COVID-19 since yesterday. The majority of them are in the eastern region. There are about 1,900 active cases. The province has scheduled a COVID briefing for 11:30 tomorrow morning, where public health is expected to announce changes to the province's alert level for next week. Well, for several weeks last year, St. Clair's Hospital in St. John's struggled to keep up with the demand for care. That's according to information obtained by CBC News. The Newfoundland and Labrador Nurses Union says it's a sign the healthcare system is broken. Here Now's Mark Quinn reports.
Information released by Eastern Health shows that this hospital was on double overcapacity protocol for 50 days last year.
We're at a crucial point in healthcare in Newfoundland and Labrador, and we need change now.
The president of the Nurses Union says double overcapacity protocol means there are no beds for patients to be admitted to hospital through the emergency department.
And then these patients are moved up to the inpatient units where there are no beds for them. So that means that staff have to, if the patient needs a private room, for instance, they got to go and move patients out of that private room and put them in the hallway. Or the patient coming from Emerge has to come up and go in the hallway.
It also means more patients for the same number of nurses, something that can harm the quality of patient care.
Once you increase the workload, once you increase the patient numbers on the workload of a registered nurse, you decrease patient outcomes. You have poorer patient outcomes. There's room for error.
And it's not just a problem at St. Clair's. It's a problem at hospital sites around the province. Coffey says double overcapacity was called here at the Health Sciences Centre more than 100 days in 2019-2020.
We have a system now that is broken, and our members are broken. They're at a point in time where something has to give, something has to change.
Last year, Moya Green's report recommended cutting healthcare spending by 25%. Coffey strongly rejects that idea.
I truly believe that nobody in this province agrees with that.
Coffey says there are signs that the province is improving healthcare with things like collaborative health clinics, hiring more nurse practitioners, and a recruitment and retention office. But she says fixing the system that she calls broken will require more money, not less. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
And late this afternoon, Eastern Health responded to Here and Now's request for an interview about hospital overcapacity.
Just want to reassure people, anybody that needs to come to the Emerge, that we're really working on this every day to try and prevent, I guess, the overcrowding and people having to wait. So just want to reassure people that when you come to the Emerge, we get you in front of the health provider, the nursing staff, the physicians, and really do everything we can to ensure that your needs are met when you're there and the care needs, and really working hard, I guess, on a daily basis to really see what we can do to prevent overcapacity.
Well, it was a beautiful night last night out there for most areas. In fact, saw the northern lights up across Labrador. Let's take a look at this wonderful picture sent in by Angel in Makovic. Great shot there. And it does look like that potential for the northern lights will continue again tonight for most of Labrador. That line where it's just visible should just be hitting the northern peninsula. But as far as who's going to see that, it does look like the best chance of seeing the northern lights tonight will be up around Nain, which looks nice. The rest of us looking at that cloud cover on the increase as we get towards the morning hours, and that's ahead of our next weather maker. I'll have the full details coming up.
Oh, thanks, Ashley. Well, government says changes are necessary if smaller communities want to maintain key services like snow clearing and fire protection. A new report recommends creating a regional model to better serve all parts of the province. Here Now's Henrika Wilhelm has more.
Water and sewer services or garbage collection, a given for residents of the province's municipalities. But for about 10% of the population, these services are less regulated, something the provincial government wants to change. The key and controversial word, regionalization. A report released today recommends what it calls a regional governance structure to provide equal services to all residents.
Our intention behind that is to provide efficient and effective services to communities all across the province of Newfoundland and Labrador to ensure that our communities are viable and sustainable and growing and have opportunities.
According to the Department of Municipal and Provincial Affairs, there are 560 communities. Most people, 91% of the province's population, live in 275 of them, various municipalities and Inuit community governments. But within this, there's also 172 local service districts, where people pay fees for services like garbage collection, but no property taxes. 6.5% of people live here. Then there's the more than 120 unincorporated areas. 2.5% of the population lives here, without any governance. Today's report recommends creating 25 regions, each serving between 5,000 and 50,000 residents, to be governed by elected regional councils.
A lot of our municipalities are working on a regional basis right now, whether they're sharing clean, safe drinking water, water treatment facilities, sharing garbage collection services, sharing with, animal control. Fire services. We're doing that on a certain level already.
That also means bills for those residents would go up.
We're not looking at how we can make money here. We want to make sure that the services that we're providing to the people are adequate and that they're appropriate and that people are paying for the services that they receive.
But regionalization is a loaded word. For some, it carries the connotation of resettlement, worry over a loss of identity. But Cody says that isn't the case.
They'll be able to hold on to their identities. They won't have to worry about changing their town name or worry about losing the history of their communities. This will allow them to really build on that, hold on to that, and just make them more sustainable.
The report acknowledges that certain parts of the province, like more remote municipalities in Labrador, Indigenous communities, as well as small island communities, will require special consideration, that one size does not fit all. The Minister of Municipal and Provincial Affairs says changes are needed to keep key services in the province, and her department hopes to implement those changes as quickly as possible. The report recommends making these moves in 3 stages, the last of which would be completed by 2024. Henrika Wilhelm, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, meanwhile, the PCs say they've been waiting on this report for some time and want the Liberal government to act on it quickly. But the PCs also say regionalization shouldn't cost people more money.
I do have some concerns, though, with respect to the report and what was in the Premier's Green Report, with respect to mandatory taxation and for all residents of the province, and how this is going to affect everybody. We haven't seen any cost analysis yet from this report, how it's going to roll out and how it's going to impact our residents, including the many seniors and those on fixed incomes. So we do need to see that. Need to see that analysis.
Well, years after a financial scandal at the English school district, the Auditor General says recommendations to fix financial oversight issues haven't been fully implemented. But school board officials say an incredible amount of work has already been done, and they're surprised by her comments. Rob Antle has the details.
A grim day in 2018 as the Auditor General released a report 2.5 years in the making, raising serious concerns about financial oversight at the English school district, full of revelations that shocked taxpayers. $735 to rent a wheelbarrow for 2 weeks. A purchase order for lawn maintenance issued on this snowy day just before Christmas 2013 to a company that wasn't actually in the lawn mowing business. Tender rules broken. Years of questionable spending and decisions. Past problems and a call for future change, for tougher controls to make sure all this couldn't happen again.
I think most importantly right now is that the district really put a concerted effort into addressing these significant weaknesses.
I would agree with that completely.
Fast forward to today, a new Auditor General, but still some concerns about the status of past recommendations. And school board officials saying they are surprised and disappointed by those comments, given the amount of work that's been done already.
Anybody that looked at our 2018 audit would know there were many examples in that audit of small dollar items that were very shocking, that they could even happen. And so that's why we're disappointed that it's not fully implemented given the significance of that audit.
I understand that the role of the Auditor General is to highlight some of the could be areas that we can improve on. We just felt that there could have been more attention paid to the significant achievements that have been made over the last few months.
School district officials say that work has been complicated by the pandemic. A code of conduct and ethics has been developed, but COVID has affected how staff will be trained. The final tweaks are happening now. And a second issue was flagged back in 2018.
You need a fraud risk management program to basically seal up the holes that could happen in an organization so you can prevent fraud, detect it, and then prevent future fraud.
I would say the problems have been solved. The system that we have in now has a tremendous amount of internal controls in it. It would be extremely difficult for us to encounter something that we encountered in the past in this current system with the way we have it set up.
But it's the past that is still the focus of police. After the Auditor General released her report back in 2018, the RNC stepped in. This week, they confirmed that fraud investigation remains active, and no charges have been laid at this stage. Rob Antle, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, shifting to national news now, Erin O'Toole has resigned as the leader of the federal Conservative Party. The announcement came soon after Conservative MPs voted to remove him as leader. O'Toole went on Facebook to address what happened. Here's part of what he said.
This afternoon, I stepped down as leader of Her Majesty's Loyal Opposition and leader of the Conservative Party of Canada following a Reform Act vote in our caucus. Our party founded this great nation. I believe it can and should lead Canada out of these troubling times for our country. I believe that a strong, modern, and united Conservative Party will help our country heal and help our country lead again. I pledge my support and unwavering loyalty to our next leader.
Well, that move to resign after Conservative Party members cast secret ballots today. Conservative MPs are also calling for unity.
I think there were a number of difficulties, obviously, that have already been talked about. Today, we, as a caucus, have moved past that. We have thanked Aaron for his service.
After the votes were counted, a majority of the Conservative caucus, 73 MPs, voted to oust O'Toole, while 45 endorsed his leadership. The vote was triggered after a group of MPs signed a letter asking for a leadership review. Conservative MPs will meet tonight to select an interim leader. Well, that's the big political news of today. Now to big news from the 1800s. A newspaper clipping found in the walls of an old New Brunswick building feels particularly timely. It was discovered while crews were demolishing a church in the village of Macadam. The project manager couldn't help but draw a connection between a big story in 1885 and the current pandemic. Have a look.
A wet, slushy morning on December 2nd. We had a bit of snowfall here, and the grounds were not real nice, but Dale was awaiting a load for his truck, and he literally stepped out and looked down into the mud and slush, and lo and behold, he saw words on a piece of old, burnt, charred newsprint that discussed vaccinations for school children, and more or less looked at me and he said, "What do you think of that?" Rolling it over, you could quickly see that it had references to St. Catherine Street and lots of references to Montreal, and a bit of internet searching and some referencing some articles that spoke to a smallpox epidemic in the province of Quebec in the 1885. It ran from February through to December of 1885, and it was a very difficult time. Quebec, there was 6,000 people killed with smallpox, 3,000 in Montreal alone, 13,000 were left with all kinds of deformities. There was a huge anti-vaccination campaign issue going on. What this article is about a vaccination program for children 136 years ago, and what is going on in our province of New Brunswick that very same week of early December, in that we were also starting vaccinations for school-age children exactly the same timeline. Yes, with COVID, obviously, thankfully not smallpox. But the interesting part of this is that the church burned in 1904, a large section of the church. The main vestry area, which this came out of, it survived that first fire in 1904, rebuilt, and then in the 1940s, it burned again. But it appears, by all accounts, that paper would have been in there as insulation. A vast majority of it would have been burned in one or both of those fires, and somehow this one little piece survived. But what I took from it was, you know what, folks, we've been through this before. Our ancestors have been through these things before. Civilization's been through these things before. Let's just get this done.
Why Newfoundland and Labrador has become really attractive to people who produce sci-fi shows. Chrissy Holmes speaks with the co-creators of the new hit series Astrid and Lilly Save the World. That's coming up.
After a quiet couple of days, the weather this weekend is about to get pretty messy. I'll have the full forecast coming up.
Well, today is Groundhog Day, when that cute little critter becomes a weather forecaster, Ashley, and decides whether we'll get an early spring or 6 more weeks of winter based on his shadow. So we'll tell you what this year's prediction is in just a moment.
Yeah, but first, it's not just groundhogs that have been used to predict the end of winter. This year, there is a new one, a lobster. Brett Riskin reports.
The seer is ready!
Groundhog Day for decades has meant a monopoly on provincial predictions for Shubenacadie Sam. But recently there's been a new Nova Scotian nemesis.
I wouldn't say nemesis.
Fine, they're actually friends. Lucy the Lobster makes predictions from Barrington, Nova Scotia, the lobster capital of Canada.
We land over 23,000 tons of lobster in our season.
The 7-pound, roughly 50-year-old lobster was hauled ashore in a trap like this and has clawed her way to weather forecasting fame.
Our famous lobster for Nova Scotia Lobster Crawl.
The Lobster Crawl has been a program to entice tourists and locals to support the seafood industry during slow winter months. But Lucy also takes her predictions seriously.
Her and Sam have made the same predictions each year, so I think we're on a good roll. Lobster roll, that is.
So what does Sam think of all of this?
Lots of creatures have this amazing ability, so why not share the fun?
Texas has an armadillo. The Oklahoma City Zoo has grizzly bears. Pennsylvania has a dog dressed as a bear. There's also Buddy the bass and Scramble the duck. But Lucy is the only lobster.
I was gonna say, does Lucy bite?
She does have a little bit of a bite, but we promise that she won't bite you. We've kept her bands on her claws.
That bite refers to 2018 when Sam tried to escape. I grabbed him, and like any startled wild animal would, he bit me.
Sam is sincerely apologetic. Did you have a safe visit with Lucy? I assume she's got some pinchers.
They literally told me they put extra rubber bands on her claws.
So, another Groundhog Day is upon us, with Lucy and Sam watching for their shadows, and me watching my fingers.
Ouch. Well, Ashley, it turns out all kinds of creatures want your job. So tell us what we've all been waiting for. What is the verdict? What's this year's prediction?
Well, Sam predicted, let's take a look at what most of them predicted, but Sam predicted 6 more weeks of winter. Same thing, Phil did the same, and then Warrington Willie in Ontario predicted an early spring. Here, I can tell you it will likely be until May, until we see some sort of spring-like weather, at least for a continuous time. But it was very winter-like today out there across the province. Let's take a look at those numbers. -10 for St. John's. Those numbers as you head towards Central, Deer Lake, Badger into the -20s this morning. And then those temperatures climbing for Lab City at about -17 this morning, but Happy Valley, Goose Bay dropped down to about -28. Now temperatures rebounded beautifully this afternoon up across the Big Land. Minus single digits, anywhere from -6 to -9 through Hopedale, and then daytime highs in the minus single digits for the island as well. Now temperatures have dropped just a bit. Those wind chills out there feeling more like -7 to -11 or 12, and then wind chills up across Labrador as well into the -teens as we speak. Now, as we head through the night tonight, those wind chills are going to drop down for most of us into the -teens through the overnight, and then some of that colder air moving back in for Lab City down to -25 tonight or 26, with that wind chill value feeling more like -35. So what we have on the go right now is an area of high pressure to the south. That's why we're seeing some pretty nice weather. Then an area of low pressure to the north with a cold front. Now that cold front is going to be our weather maker for a couple of days. On the other side of that is some Arctic air, and that is what is going to move in and bring some of that colder air back into Labrador. Temperatures into the -20s by the time we get into Friday, Saturday, and Sunday as well. So Environment Canada has issued an extreme cold warning where we are going to see those wind chills. Now this is for Thursday night into Friday morning into the -45 range, and that will continue, it looks like, until at least Sunday in those overnight hours. Now, as far as tonight goes, temperatures will be a bit chilly, -24 for Lab City, but overall, the rest of Labrador, at least for the southeast, will see those overnight lows into the minus single digits, and then same thing for the island. Now, things will be unsettled though as we head through the night tonight. We're looking at the potential for some flurries, and then flurries will move in towards the morning hours for the west coast. This is going to change over to some rain in the afternoon as those flurries continue to track a little bit further east. Northern Peninsula looks like you may see a potential changeover late afternoon, early evening. And then as that system, cold front continues to move in, that Arctic air in behind it, we are going to see that potential for some snow on the west coast, rain elsewhere through the day on, or at least into the early morning hours on Friday. You can see that rain snow line set up there just east of, or west of eastern Newfoundland. So temperatures tomorrow will be above zero, hence that changeover. We should see some sun to start. The winds will be now out of the southwest, anywhere from 30 to 50 kilometers per hour. And then as we head towards central, we're looking at anywhere from 2 to 4 degrees, again with that potential for some rain, and then back over to flurries into the evening hours. The winds very breezy though, southwesterlies anywhere from 40 to 70 kilometers per hour. This should be flurries up across Labrador, and then again the chilly conditions returning for Lab City in and around -26. Now, some more details on the rest of the weekend forecast when I come back.
Well, the weather in central Newfoundland today was cold but clear. Perfect winter weather for a skate. Cobb's Pond was a popular spot this afternoon in Gander with dozens of people lacing up to test out the ice. Looks like a blast.
Newfoundland and Labrador's film and television industry was bumping with productions last year, and one of the new series is creating lots of excitement in the sci-fi realm.
Maybe the world is finally our oyster for a change.
Yes! Astrid and Lilly Saved the World premiered on Sci-fi last week, and the reviews have been pretty out of this world. Time magazine calls it a lovable supernatural dramedy that breaks the mold. So while Astrid and Lilly may be high school outsiders, the critics have pulled them into the cool club, and that is good for this province.
What are you looking at? My guy's even here. I didn't invite. Pudge Patrol.
Trouble always finds me. You're a monster. F those haters! Let's dance them out of our bodies! We want you all to just disappear.
Long story short, a portal to another dimension was open. A sort of end of the world type situation. Since you're the ones who opened it, you are also the only ones who can close it.
Jana Morrison and Samantha O'Coin are the monster-fighting teenage team known as Astrid and Lilly, and they and the whole series were co-created by another pair of women, Noelle Stamen and Betsy Van Stone, who join us now from their home in LA. Thank you so much for joining us, and congratulations on the launch.
Hi, thank you so much. Yeah, it's been very exciting.
Well, let's talk about how all this came together, manifesting this whole Astrid and Lilly world. What is the origin story here?
On a very base level, Noelle and I love strong female characters that are dynamic and likable and also unlikable because they're real. And you know, so we came up with these two girls and thought, you know, how cool would it be to set a story in high school when insecurities run high?
What better way to throw them into situations where we can highlight all of their strengths and insecurities by throwing in monsters? So that was a natural combination.
And goo and portals and all these other keywords I keep hearing
Lots
from
of
everybody.
Goo, so much goo.
So I think everybody's wondering, like, you're in LA, you could have shot this anywhere. So what made Newfoundland and Labrador an attractive location to set this sci-fi monster hunting series?
You know, we teamed up with a production company in Canada, in Toronto, Blue Ice, and they had a relationship with Newfoundland and specifically St. John's, having just shot Surreal Estate there for Sci-fi. And it just seemed like a natural place. And luckily we were able to find a high school that we could use. And I mean, it was true. We'd heard everyone was so charming there and so welcoming. And that turned out to be true. And it just turned out to be like the best place to shoot. We essentially moved there for 5 months and felt like locals.
Yes, everyone was even more charming than we had heard. And on top of it, St. John's basically has so many different looks throughout the island that you can. Our show takes place technically in Ohio and the United States, but there's so many different looks on the island that you can film basically any type of show you want there, which is really exciting too.
Tell us a little bit about that experience. I mean, you were shooting in a pandemic, not very easy. You had to bring your crew in. I mean, just on the ground, what was your impression of Newfoundland and Labrador working in the city, and what was that whole experience like?
I will say the experience of working there was overwhelmingly easy. You know, being that it's such a small community, it made transportation really easy from set to set. The pandemic was, of course, part of our production, but not in the way that it would have been had we shot in, the States. I mean, the numbers were so low, which was so lovely, and the restrictions, as you know, coming in and out were so strong that we felt really safe shooting there during the pandemic.
It's a place maybe not a lot of people have been to, at least in the States, and we are singing its praises because it's a wonderful place.
Yeah, I mean, I'm super glad it's getting the recognition for, being a lovely, warm place, but also a place where crews can film. I think it's great for the local economy, and I think more productions, should hopefully go there once they see how great these shows look. I think our show looks great, and that is in part, due to the wonderful town. So yeah, hopefully it brings new productions your way.
Both in front of the camera and behind the scenes, there are a lot of women involved in this production. I'm just curious, was that by design? Just tell us a little bit about that.
That was definitely by design, and we were thrilled to have the opportunity to hire so many talented, brilliant women. Our writers' room was entirely women. Our directors were all women or non-binary. Our director of photography, our production designer, our composer, and it's something that had been, I would say, a longtime dream of ours to have the opportunity to do, and we didn't know if we would get that chance, but we did get that chance, and our production company and network were extremely supportive about it. So it was a real thrill to get to do that.
We're seeing great reviews. What does all this mean for the future of Astrid and Lilly?
We hope it means season 2. We don't know yet. We are, kind of waiting to hear from the network. It's, it's ratings and it's fan base, it's all of those things. And we're crossing our fingers because there's so many more stories to tell.
So everyone cross your fingers, watch, tell your friends to watch.
It's been an incredible last week, to say the least.
Congratulations once again. Can't wait to see what comes next.
Thank you so much.
Well, it's a topic that's been debated for decades in this province, regionalization. There are 172 local service districts in this province, small communities run by elected committees. Instead of paying property taxes, residents pay fees for services like water and garbage collection. There are also around 120 unincorporated areas with no governance whatsoever. A report offering a plan for regionalization was released today, and one of the groups involved in making recommendations is Municipalities Newfoundland and Labrador, and President Amy Cody joins me now. So Municipalities NL has been advocating for regionalization for years. Can you tell us about some of the recommendations in this report?
Absolutely. MNL has been talking about regionalization with our membership since 2005. So we know it's an important topic for our membership. We know that our municipalities need to become sustainable. We know there are ways that they can do that. And like I said, with regionalization, it's about municipal renewal. There are so many things that we can be doing better and taking more advantage of to make us sustainable, to keep our identities, and just moving our municipalities forward.
A lot of people do get their backs up over the idea of regionalization, especially those people who live in small local service districts. They have a fee-for-service structure for garbage collection and water, and that's it. And they see regionalization as forcing them to pay more money in taxes for services they already receive. So what's in it for them?
Well, I think the important thing in this joint working group report is that we collaborated and we spoke with unincorporated areas and local service district memberships, as well as our own municipalities and our municipal leaders. So we worked with the professional municipal administrators along with the Department of Municipal and Provincial Affairs. So this has been a collaborative effort. We've also spoken with the joint councils across the province as well. So we understand the concerns, we understand the needs, and we're talking about how we can best move forward that will be beneficial to all groups. And I think that's why this report is so important, is because it was so collaborative and all-encompassing. And I think everybody will be pleased with the results.
There are also a lot of cabin owners in the province. They may not be so keen on the idea of paying property taxes on a place that they use for maybe a couple of months a year. What do you say to those people?
Well, again, that's all things that need to be talked about further, that need to be discussed with, all areas, anybody who owns property in the province. We'll take all of that into consideration as we move it forward. Again, this is just a plan at this point, a report.
Can you give us an idea of just how much money we're talking about? Like for someone who lives in a local service district, how much more money would they have to pay if their area becomes regionalized?
That's something that we have no idea about at this point. This, like I said, this is a working document now. We have to determine what the regions will be. Our population base and our land mass is so great. Some of these regions could be 5,000, some will be 50,000. So, I mean, when you look at cost savings or what people are going to have to pay, that's really something that is further down the road.
Okay, so still more steps to go, but if the report is acted on, what are the timelines? Like when could people start paying taxes?
Well, I mean, right now in the report, it looks like there's a 3-year rollout of regionalization. So this is not overnight. There's still a lot of work to be done on this report. Initially, like I said, MNL is just happy that we were able to be involved in the conversation. This is the first time that, when government has been talking about regionalization, that MNL and PMA have been at the table to have those conversations, to talk about the needs and the concerns and bring forth the comments of our membership. And we feel that has made a difference in this report and has pushed it along, which is why we're just thrilled that this report is now available. It is being released. It gives us a working and living document, and now we can kind of start that process of implementing what's in the report and figuring out how best it's going to work for everybody.
Okay, Amy Cody, thanks so much for this.
Thank you so much, Carolyn.
Calls are getting louder for officials to end the anti-vaccine mandate protest in Ottawa. Hundreds of demonstrators are still on Parliament Hill, and several major roads remain blocked by transport trucks and other vehicles. Organizers have issued a statement saying they will stay in Ottawa for as long as it takes to have their demands met.
We are escalating our actions, including enforcement. We're going to do so without unnecessarily escalating greater public safety risks. We do not want riots. We can never accept serious injuries or deaths. But all options remain on the table.
Police say only a few hundred protesters remain on Parliament Hill. It's estimated there were about 18,000 demonstrators over the weekend. Those who remain continue to make plenty of noise. A number of neighborhoods in the area are being disrupted. Businesses remain closed, and the main shopping mall downtown, the Rideau Centre, will be shut for the rest of the week. There has also been a third arrest in connection with the protest. The Canadian Olympic Committee has announced flag bearers for the 2022 Beijing Winter Games. Women's hockey captain Marie-Philippe Poulin and men's speed skater Charles Omlin will hoist the maple leaf at the opening ceremony on Friday.
The opening is very special. It's an honor. It's hard to put into words, but to be honest, our smile, I think, says it all.
Katrina said that we were the flag bearer for Canada. Well, I got a little bit in shock. Got my tears come down a little bit on my cheek.
Omlin is one of the world's most decorated short track speed skaters and has won 5 Olympic medals. He's tied for Canada's most decorated male Winter Olympian. And hockey captain Marie-Philippe Poulin scored game-winning goals at both the 2010 and 2014 Olympics. She'll be competing at her 4th Games.
My name is Alec Millian. I'm the coordinator of the RPM Challenge. The RPM Challenge is a creative challenge to anybody to record music in the month of February. And it's any length, any level of experience, anywhere, any genre, anything you can think of. We first brought the RPM Challenge to Newfoundland in 2008, and we got 22 albums that year, and we thought that was a lot. And then over the years, it's grown and grown to the point where we receive over 100 records from Newfoundland and Labrador every single year. There are people all over the world that are participating, including people in Iran, Qatar, all over Europe, all over the States. To participate, you go to rpmchallenge.com. There's a sign-up form. You can read more about it, and you'll be signed up.
Good day. Today is February 2nd, 2022. It is Groundhog Day. We are reporting from St. Matthew's School in St. John's. My name is Graham. And my name is Benjamin. Today we have a special guest, Winter, the Groundhog. He is telling us that he did not see his shadow. Early this morning, I repeat, he did not see his shadow. That means an early spring. This is Benjamin and Graham, reporting from St. Matt's News.
Well, that was adorable and great prediction there. I like the idea of an early spring. What a wonderful report for Groundhog Day. Great job, Benjamin and Graham. And thank you so much to Mrs. Danielle Bishop's grade 4 class at St. Matthew's School for sharing that with us. She just sent it along about a half an hour ago, and she tells us they're just starting to dabble with video projects and created this one earlier today. So we give your students an A+.
This weather update is brought to you by the NL 511 app. Know before you go. Check road conditions, highway cameras, and the provincial plow tracker with the NL 511 app.
Ashley is back with the long range, and we're skipping ahead to the weekend now. And it seems like it's probably going to be the kind of weekend where you want to stay indoors, nice and warm and cozy.
Absolutely. It has been nice weather for most of the week, and things are going to change certainly as we head through the day tomorrow and really as we head through Friday. Let's take a look at just a general idea of what's going to happen. Now that line where I have that pink line there is likely going to change, but at this point anything west of that line should mainly fall as snow Friday through to Sunday, and anything to the east of that line we will see freezing rain, and then potentially some snow, and some significant snow at times through parts of central and northeastern Newfoundland. So the other thing with this one is the potential for some freezing rain. You could see the highlighted there for the Burin Peninsula and most of the Avalon. We could see some significant freezing rain with this, and again, that will be Friday and completely dependent on the track of this system. There is quite a bit of disagreement with this one. But at this point, this model showing as we head through Friday evening, that transition through that pink line is where we could see that potential for some freezing rain. And then anything to the north and west of that line should fall as snow on Friday. Now, temperatures should be above zero for eastern Newfoundland and then drop. But the rest of the island, looking at those temperatures into the minus single digits, this could be when we see some significant snow. Again, 30+ centimeters, definitely not out of the question. And Labrador, you're going to sit this one out cold and clear for the most part. Now, as we head into Saturday, you can see that rain-snow line or the mix line meandering. That is along that cold front and then eventually an area of low pressure. And so that's when we could see some more freezing rain and then potentially over to snow as it moves out into the evening hours on Saturday. So temperatures may start fairly high, but they're going to drop quite significantly into the afternoon for eastern Newfoundland. And then again, that snow continuing for central through the afternoon. Now, looking ahead after that, Sunday things should eventually clear out. Going to keep that potential for some flurries though in both Sunday and Monday, but there your temperatures drop back down to the minus single digits for St. John's and eastern Newfoundland. For central and western, you're looking at clearing skies. Maybe a few flurries will linger for the west, but again, temperatures into the minus single digits. And then for eastern Labrador, sunshine both Sunday and Monday, temperatures back into the minus 20s. Take a look at this shot. Stunning morning in Postville. Jillian shared that shot with us. If you have any weather photos, send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Oh, I bet that was a refreshing hike. Beautiful shot, Jillian. Thank you so much for that. And before we leave you, just a reminder that for the next 2 weeks, starting on Monday, February 7th, Here and Now will be a shorter, later show due to our Olympic coverage. So starting next Monday, Here and Now will be a half-hour program. We'll be airing at 7:30 in the evening. That's 7 o'clock in most parts of Labrador. So that will be the case for the following week as well, the week of February 14th, Valentine's Day, all that week. Then we go back to our regular time slot once the Olympics come to an end. Well, thank you for spending some of your time with us this evening. Lots of news expected tomorrow with the COVID briefing at 11:30 tomorrow morning. We're expecting to hear something about changes to the alert levels that could come into effect next week. So stay tuned for that and tune in tomorrow night. Hope to see you then. Good night.